Broncos country. Let's ride.
Well, at least this debacle's finally over. The Denver Broncos cut Russell Wilson on Monday, just 2 years after trading a king's ransom to acquire him. What were the highlights of Russell Wilson's time in Denver? An 11-19 record, 0 playoff appearances, getting memed on by a fictional starfish, and a $245 million contract extension in 2022. That included $165 million guaranteed that Russell Wilson will play 0 snaps of. The Russell Wilson trade is one of the worst trades in NFL history. Some may argue the worst, but trading 3 first-round picks and giving a fully guaranteed contract to an alleged 26-time sexual predator is worse. Yes, Cleveland, You know what? I can't do it. Talking on the Browns isn't going to make me feel better. I've tried to be nice. I've tried to make jokes out of this. I've tried to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I've tried to look on the bright side, but I just can't. The Denver Broncos are an absolute garbage fire right now. All this team has done for the past 8 years is kick me in the nards. Over and over. Over and over and over and over and over and over again. And you know what? I'm finally going to kick back. I'm going to call out those of you who have ruined my life for the past 8 years. Broncos ownership, today's your lucky day. I'm going to give you a pass. You acquired the team in 2022, so you were still new to this NFL thing. The trade and the contract for Russell Wilson were already in motion by the time you were officially named owners. To your credit, you've supported the team very well financially. You also somehow convinced Sean Payton to come to this dumpster fire. I have no idea how you did that. I'm sure you've learned what not to do. Just make sure this doesn't happen again. Please, for my and rest of Bronco country's sanity. Sean Payton, I know you haven't been here in Denver very long, and this trade isn't on you. When you took the head coaching job, Russell Wilson was under contract for another 6 years. The least you could do is pretend to get along with him. Why were you constantly calling him out in the media? You just made it worse. It's okay to be friends with somebody. You don't need to be a jerk all the time. I know you want a Super Bowl with the Saints, but please let some of the players like you. Nathaniel Hackett, you're a nice guy, but you were the worst coach in the history of the National Football League. I know the words that just came out of my mouth were too high level for you, so let's say it in animal noises that I know that you love. You owe your whole career to Aaron Rodgers. The whole reason why you were hired in 2022 was to try and lure Aaron Rodgers to Denver. Is there anything you can do as an NFL head coach at all? Your first game as NFL head coach, you decided to kick a 64-yard field goal instead of making your $245 million quarterback go for it on 4th and 5 with 55 seconds left and 3 timeouts? This is something that Madden players know how to do. How do you not know how to make decisions like this? You literally had to hire someone to come in and make decisions and manage the clock for you. You are an NFL head coach. You should know how to do this. You also couldn't call plays. And a 3rd and 1 had to have it. You run a fullback option? Really? That was the best play call you could come up with? A fullback option? You had to give up game planning and play calling because you were so bad at it. You were supposed to be an offensive guru when you were hired. How many points did your offense score per game? 16.9. The lowest in the NFL. So you can't manage the clock, you can't call plays and game plan. Well, at least were you a good leader? No, you couldn't even lead right. One of the most important characteristics of a good football coach is leadership. You let Russell Wilson have his own office on the 2nd floor where the coaches were supposed to be. And you let your team fight amongst themselves on the sidelines multiple times? You let Mike Purcell chew out Russell Wilson right in front of you? You let your Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate, a guy who is supposed to be a pillar in the community, and your backup quarterback get in a shouting match on the sideline. Where was the leadership, man? It's no wonder you only made it 15 games, Nathaniel. You're absolutely terrible at every single aspect of your job. I could see why Aaron Rodgers likes you so much. He can go do whatever he wants, and he knows you won't do a thing about it. You better hope and pray that Aaron Rodgers plays until he is 65 years old. Because when Aaron Rodgers retires, you're done. You're not even going to be a ball boy anymore. That's how bad you are on an NFL sideline. George Payton, congratulations. In 4 years, you've absolutely destroyed an NFL franchise. Do you know what the difference is between you and this creature right here? This creature has exponentially more brain cells than you do, and its brain was the size of a lime. Since being the GM in 2021, you have overseen the worst head coaching hire ever, one of the worst trades ever, and the worst contract ever. I don't know why you thought it was a good idea to trade 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a 5th-round pick, and 3 players for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson wasn't even your first choice! You initially wanted Aaron Rodgers. That's why you hired that bumbling buffoon Nathaniel Hackett. When Aaron Rodgers decided he wanted to return to the Packers, you straight up panicked. You just couldn't come home empty-handed, could you? So what did you do? You decided to pay way too much for Russell Wilson. You didn't want Russell Wilson from the beginning. So why did you decide to pay him $165 million guaranteed before he even took a snap for your franchise? And look where that got you. You are now going to be paying Russell Wilson $85 million in dead cap to not be on the team. That is the largest dead cap hit in NFL history. What were you thinking? Also, for a guy who started his career in scouting, your draft picks have been absolutely terrible. When you were hired, you said the goal of the team was to draft and develop players. How come, out of the 24 picks you have made during your time as a GM, only 2 of those draft picks are worth building around? That's not development, George. For an offense that has been as bad as it has, you've spent 8 draft picks on it the whole time you've been in Denver. You spent just as many picks on defensive backs. And how many of those defensive backs have actually worked out? 1. Your nickel corner, he's undrafted. Your safety, he's undrafted. Your other safety was on the team before you were even here. Your other corner was a free agent. You've missed on 7 defensive back picks. And the 1 cornerback you've gotten right was a generational cornerback prospect. You've gotten it right 1 time, and that's because it was a generational talent. Good job, George. For somebody who's supposed to be good at scouting, you're absolutely terrible at it. Russell Wilson. You're not the same quarterback you used to be. You can no longer run around the backfield for 10 seconds, then flip a pass to Doug Baldwin. And now whenever you try and spin away, you just spin into the arms of the defender. You need to look in the mirror and realize you aren't as athletic as you used to be. Russell Wilson's stats lie more than any other quarterback stats. Russell Wilson will play great for a quarter, and then all of a sudden he'll play terrible. He'll fumble the ball, he'll take stupid sacks, and the offense won't go anywhere. Russell Wilson has a lot of 4th quarter comebacks. Well, you know why that is? Because Russell Wilson dug you in the hole in the first place. A great example of this is the Patriots game from this past season. The Broncos had 4 drives in the 3rd quarter. Their best drive netted 5 total yards. Russ cannot play a good 60 minutes anymore. He's way too inconsistent. His numbers look great in the box score, but Russ never plays as good as the numbers imply. 27% of the passes he threw this year didn't go past the line of scrimmage, the most out of any quarterback since 2005. 62% of his passes didn't go more than 5 yards down the field, the 2nd most of any quarterback since 2005. Samaje Perine, the Broncos' 3rd-string running back, was the Broncos' 3rd best receiver this year. Perine caught 50 passes this season, and I'm pretty sure all 50 of them came in the 2-minute drill. Perine was so effective because Russell Wilson didn't throw the ball downfield. Only 26% of Russell Wilson's passes went to the intermediate part of the field this season, the lowest amount of any quarterback since 2005, once again. When Russell Wilson actually decides to throw the ball intermediate or deep, it's either a Hail Mary to Cortland Sutton or he has no idea where he's throwing the ball. That's why a fictional starfish roasted him on Christmas.
That's not what he wanted to cook.
Russell Wilson was sacked 45 times this year, the 5th most in the NFL. Pro Football Focus reported that 67% of those sacks were because of Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson is a quarterback that throws the ball short more than any other quarterback since 2005, but takes the 5th most sacks in the NFL. It's no wonder Sean Payton couldn't work with him. He can't process what he sees on the field. But the worst thing about you, Russell Wilson, is you are a victim of yourself. You think that you are better than what you actually are. You act like some corny, humble dude just doing silly things. But when you pull back the curtain on who you actually are, there is someone with a massive ego sitting behind it. You wore your own jersey to practice. To practice! You really sit in your 12-bathroom house and think of your alter egos.
You're unlimited. Yeah, you gotta be unlimited. You gotta have a thought process of being unlimited.
No human actually does this, let alone make a video about it. Yeah, Russ, you really need an office in the practice facility. Come on, man, you're not a coach. You're not above your teammates. Your locker is your office. You also tried to get your old head coach in Seattle fired, and Seattle picked him over you, and I can see why. And you started this stupid, let Russ cook, let Russ cook. We've seen what you cook, Russ, and guess what? It isn't good.
That's not what he wanted to cook.
But somehow, you and Team 3 are going to spin this around and make it seem like you're the good guy, that you're the victim in all this, that you're just some corny guy making corny jokes who wants to do high knees on the plane, who wants to eat his Subway sandwiches. You thought your game was
unlimited,
but it's actually limited. That's why you failed in Denver and struggled in Seattle in the end. The Denver Broncos. I am by far the most mad at you. You haven't built anything. After the 2016 season, when you won a Super Bowl, you should have started rebuilding. But what did you do? You kept bringing in stopgap quarterbacks. You brought in Paxton Lynch. You brought in Case Keenum. You brought in Joe Flacco. You brought in Teddy Bridgewater. You never tried to get the quarterback position right. That's why George Payton couldn't come home empty-handed when he went out to go get a quarterback. He had to get someone elite or else the fans would riot. You also couldn't bring in coaches. Vance Joseph? Really? Vance Joseph over Kyle Shanahan. Oh, all because Joe Ellis didn't like Kyle Shanahan's dad? Ridiculous. Then he hired Vic Fangio, who didn't want to be involved with the offense, so he fired his offensive coordinator and brought in Pat Shurmur. And Pat Shurmur destroyed the only quarterback who had any chance of being something. You also missed on draft picks. Paxton Lynch, he's in the Canadian Football League now. Bradley Chubb, who was always injured. Noah Fant, you traded him to get Russell Wilson. Jerry Jeudy, a guy who can't catch a cold. That's also leaving out all the free agents you missed on. Randy Gregory, 5-year contract, ship him off in 1.5 years. Kyle Fuller, wow, what a disappointment at the cornerback position. Melvin Gordon, oh, I think I fumbled my notes just reading that. And the perennially injured Juwan James. Even if Russell Wilson was in good form, the Broncos still wouldn't be any closer to the Super Bowl. The team doesn't have the talent to be a real contender. The team can't get out of its own way and refuses to actually make smart decisions. If you're going to get a quarterback to take you over the hump, you need to have the talent around him to get you over that hump. Hiring one of the worst head coaches in the NFL. Trading for Russell Wilson. Getting memed on by a fictional starfish on Christmas.
That's not what he wanted to cook.
Having a 5-game winning streak and then missing the playoffs. This has Broncos fans thinking the same thing. Broncos country, let's cry. Well, at least this drama's over. We can finally look forward to the draft and potentially rebuild. What do you mean we released Justin Simmons and didn't trade him? We couldn't get a pick out of him? Gosh, this never ends. The ride never ends.
Broncos country. Let's ride.
Oh, shut up, Russ.